Welcome to Tony at 12. I'm Tony LeBlanc, and today I'm in conversation with Ralph Burridge, who's going to let us have his views on current Alderney Aviation, including the reintroduction of Twin Otters. Ralph, good to see you.
Good. Yeah, and lucky to see you, I think, after that. A little technical issue.
No,
Otherwise
we
known,
made it in the
otherwise
end.
known as finger trouble. Yeah.
We made it in the end. Let's start off by talking about your career as an Aurigny pilot. Um, what made you go into commercial aviation?
Um, Pure luck, no intent whatsoever, Tony. I sort of left my agency, my travel agencies in the UK, came down here with wife model two, I would hasten to add. and I had all my licenses, instructors, and multi and examiners ratings. And as an associate of the railway, you will remember the pilot who used to be associated with the railway, and he decided he wanted to fly Dakotas, Lent, and somebody knocked on my door and said, "Would you like to join us?" I said I would. But I hadn't got the license required at the time, so I had to nip away and get a couple of examinations under my belt. And from then I joined them, and that was go way back in 1979.
Wow, I don't know. And eventually, your career with Aurigny took you up to being the chief testing pilot, wasn't it?
Well, the
Chief
training
training
pilot, yeah,
pilot. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
only a technicality.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It was one of those things that Uh, you try and save a bit of money along the line, and of course, if you join a company and you've got all the qualifications, it saves them having to pay to do somebody else's job. So
Yeah,
that's it. That's the
absolutely.
way finished.
Now, the interesting thing, Ralph, is that, in those times, we had resident pilots and resident planes on the island, didn't we?
We did indeed. A happy bunch and a very friendly bunch they were, dealing entirely differently because, dare I say it, we were at that time more interested in serving the public than the bean counters.
And then, of course, Aurigny effectively got nationalised, and it's gone downhill ever since.
I
Don't
think that
answer it
would
if you don't
probably
want
be.
to.
I think that's probably a fair assessment, Tony. Fair
Yeah,
assessment.
yeah, which is a
Not
great
words
shame.
that I would use myself. Sorry,
Yeah, I was saying
I
it.
interrupted you. Beg your
Yeah,
pardon.
I was just going to go on to say that, according to the Telegraph on a bit of research they did not so long ago, they came back and said Aurigny was the third worst airline in the world, only beaten by Eastern and Air China. And that's a shocking indictment, isn't it?
It is. It is really because there was a time when we were far nearer the top. We were almost as far from the top as we now are from the bottom.
Yeah,
But of
yeah.
course, we're hoping to improve all the time. They shall me.
Okay, so we get to the situation where the airport obviously needs upgrading, the runway's shot, etc., etc. And we've lost all this time. And this is saying, isn't there, Ralph? What goes around comes around. And, it's such a pity that it's taken them this length of time to realise that effectively the answer was in a plane that they used to use in the early 80s.
Well, I think you've got the basis uh, of the argument there, in as much as if you take over something and it works, it's not necessarily the best idea to redevelop the whole thing into something that doesn't. Seemed a rather backward step then. Um, we we sort of definitely took lots and lots of paces backwards, and um, trying to get aeroplanes that were requiring the quart size runway into a pint size airport was not a good idea. It may have benefited some, but it didn't benefit anybody as far as the public was concerned. And to be honest with you, it was such an expensive and a ridiculous idea in the first place to try and spend about 50 million quid making an airport that you didn't need to fit an aeroplane that, if you were lucky, would come up about three times a day. with 72 seats on it, so you had to change um, the whole program of the airport into a different category, and it would have been a special operation, which meant it could only be flown in normally by um, qualified captains who were approved to fly it, and in bad weather. You haven't got one of those sitting there. That's the end of your services, my friend. It just was a pointless exercise of spending money on the basis big is beautiful, but it doesn't work. And that was the problem. And it's taken 10 years for us to be able to say, in a way, we told you so.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if the politicians and a lot of the members of the public who have been on the island long enough to know us better had have perhaps taken a little bit more notice, because I honestly can't remember, Tony, any committee or subcommittee or any other advice where anybody on the island who knew about aviation was ever invited.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. And of course we got a situation where the states of Alderney and the Chamber of Commerce were actively encouraging this concept of ATRs, which wasn't as it's turned out, wasn't a good idea. And they actually said at the beginning, "Oh, we'll give you £3 million towards it if it'll help." Now, if you play poker, you never show your cards to the other side, do you?
Well, I don't play poker, but I think that would be a fair assessment that you wouldn't give your solution before you.
So we've stuck a little bit, but I think Ralph will be back with us hopefully in a second or two. Ralph, what's the score? Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can.
Oh, you're back with me.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry,
Okay,
lost
you're
you for
back
a
with
little
me.
while. Don't worry, keep going. So there we are. Politically, it wasn't a particularly good idea, and we've lost time. And more to the point, the cost of the project, going back to what was initially on the table, has probably doubled, hasn't it?
Oh, easily. I mean, for every ever explained a lot of things to the public about the runway. They always think, oh, well, we'll patch it up and make it good. You won't patch it up and make it good, because if you went to the sort of ATR 70, you've got to rebuild the airport. You've got to dig up the runway. You've got to relay it. You've got to strengthen it. You've got to give it a low carrying number. For what? Three flights a day, maybe? Increasing the fire service. It's an unbelievably expensive operation.
Changing it slightly, Ralph, my first visit to Alderney in 1982 was on a Twin Otter, and I assume that was the
Lucky man.
standard at the time. Uh, and in those days, of course, you could work on a single pilot basis, couldn't you?
Yes, and as far as the aeroplane is concerned, I know it's only a technicality. As far as the aeroplane is concerned, it is still a licensed aeroplane for single crew.
Yeah.
It's only the local legislation and the UK and the Europeans who came up many moons ago with a strange idea that if it was piston, you only needed one pilot. But as soon
Yeah.
as you put a turbine in, you have to have two, which was always an anomaly because basically turbines are easier to work with than pistons. So you give them a simpler system, but you need two pilots to operate it. Another illogical thing, I think.
Did you find it easy to fly?
Oh, beautiful. It's great fun. Um, we switched from Trilanders to the Twin Otters. I'm sure removal of which will come up in a minute.
Yeah.
But we did that, and it was a revelation as to what an aeroplane that was actually physically designed to work in hostile environments, and you can't get more in hostile than North, Arctic, Antarctic, in the middle of the desert, in the middle of sea, in water, you name it, it'll do it.
Yeah.
Built like the proverbial block blick,
Brick
what's
wall.
it? And uh, and it's made to last, and it's a wonderful, powerful and strong structure.
Now, they dropped them in favour of the Trilanders. The excuse at the time was the expense because of the heavy servicing costs. Is that still
Well,
relevant?
well, let's put it this way. The reason that we got rid of them, if you like, was I say we metaphorically, but Aurigny got rid of them, was a genuine error of judgment, which they recognised, and that was we bought one Twin Otter, and of course, in doing that, it used to be at Guernsey, it used to come up here in the morning, and then of course it used to do nothing else all day but go backwards and forwards to Southampton.
Mm,
And then it would pop back to Guernsey in the evening and start again tomorrow. And they thought, this is a great idea. We better get another one. So there was a cancelled order in Canada, which they bought and brought back. Very nice too, lovely, in our own colours. And it went on to work, but the problem was doing what? And of course, the only option for the second one was the service between Guernsey and Jersey. And of course, that was a different ball game then because we used to operate 31 rotations a day between Guernsey and Jersey, of which the Twin Otter flew 24 of them. And 24 times 15 minutes is not good for the engine, which is about 30 minutes minimum sector. I don't know, a very quick explanation. Every time it starts, it gets very, very hot inside, and it has a slightly detrimental effect on the engines. And it's like a graph. As one goes up, the other one goes down. And if it met at that time below 2,500, you had to try and find some longer flights to stretch it a bit.
yeah,
But since then, of course, that was a matter of sink or swim, because at that stage we did not have the benefit of a multi-million pound um, deep hole of pound notes from the taxpayer. All our money came out of our own account. So consequently, if you'd have kept going, you would have started to lose. So the only honourable thing they could do, unfortunately, was to get rid of them. And
yeah,
that was the reason.
yeah.
Now I see, according to the spokesman from Aurigny, of course, that now the um, the time between overhauls has gone from 2,400 to 3,600, a 50% increase. So the problem doesn't materialize, and you can do the same all over again now.
Mm. Twin Otter STOL, and it really is an
So,
STOL, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about
uh,
that.
so it's an airplane that's designed to fly slowly on an approach with maximum sort of safety at low speed, and it is low speed. I was just looking at my notes here from my old Twin Otter, and I noticed that for maximum all-up weight on a stall, its approach speed is less than 70 knots, which is a hell of a lot less than the present Dornier is.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you've got it set up, and bearing in mind that as soon as the wheels go down, you can put it into what we call beta reverse pitch, uh, as as an example, if you come in on the very short runway over the town, aligning with the breakwater, and you pop it onto to the grass next to the new hangar,
yeah.
um, you can safely land, stop, slow down, and turn off at the first runway intersection and go to the terminal that way. It is fantastically short. That's why it'll operate on all of the six runways we have.
Yeah,
And
I
before
I, rem-
somebody,
I remember going on one because I sort of used to commute, and it took off in less than 100 yards.
yeah, it
It
can
was
do.
blowing a bit of a hoolie, admittedly, but it just went straight up like a rocket.
That's right.
Incredible.
And of course, and of course, doing that, bearing in mind that when you've got something like the Dornier or other aeroplanes of its type, which have to rely on its crosswind limit because it can only use one runway,
Yeah,
it doesn't apply, generally speaking, with the Twin Otter, because if you don't like that one, when you move to another runway and the crosswind limit goes out the window, you don't bother with it anymore. I mean, the only possibility of nuisance is if it happens to get really waterlogged, in
Yeah.
which case nobody can use it.
No, quite. So that's a fact of life, isn't it? But the grass runways are maintained, are they, to an adequate standard?
Yeah, they're still ordinarily licensed runways. The only thing you can't use is the very short one at night because that one's not licensed for night work. But the two other main runways are either permanently lit, like the main run, or the other one they use battery lights. So yes, you can use it, no problem at all.
Ralph, if for example, you're in a situation where the runways are out of operation due to being too wet, what
Yeah.
would be the crosswind capability on the tarmac, assuming the runway gets widened out to 23 meters? Got any idea about that?
Um, yeah, you see, there are so many factors because people look at a crosswind limit as if they say, oh, the crosswind limit is 25 knots, they assume that it's 25 knots of wind,
Mm,
and it isn't. It's a matter of the angle of the 25 knots in its direction from the aeroplane, which is all done in tabulated form. It's not something we dream out of our head, because what you have to do is to allow for a much advancement into wind that you can maintain directional control on the runway. And that in itself is limited by whether it's wet or dry,
yeah,
or whether they've had a recent fall of hail. So that every condition has to be taken into. And as far as paperwork is concerned, all aeroplanes, just like cars, you can get a battery car that will do 500 miles, providing you don't drive it more than 10 mile an hour.
yeah, sure.
You can do lots of things, but never at the same time.
No, okay.
But
Now,
in answer to your question,
yeah,
the crosswind limit probably wouldn't be that much different. I think possibly the Dornier might be slightly better,
yeah,
but once you think that you can use the other runways, in most cases, it's probably an academic question because
yeah,
it wouldn't really arise.
okay. Now, you've also got an easier medivac facility on the Otter, is that correct?
Oh, yes, now that's a dream. Well, the principle was exactly the same as the Islander and Trilander. Quick release seats, very easy to take out. Didn't need an engineer with a spanner and a licensed engineer to do it. Um, our sort of target time, there's a routine, but our target time from the time the phone rang next to me, sadly, being a teetotaler, I did get a fair percentage of them. um, our target time from that phone ringing to being down in Guernsey with a man in an ambulance going to PE was about 35 minutes.
Yeah,
And that was something that is impossible to beat when the aeroplane is elsewhere.
yeah,
You just can't do it. And of course, if the weather is no good here, you can get out of here and go to an airfield with a hospital where the weather is good enough, which you can't do if you can't get into Alderney in the first place.
no, okay,
And it's a wonderful thing. I can only relate the convenience of it. I spent some time down in Guernsey flying the otters, and they called us out one night for an air med. Sadly, somebody was doing some diving in Sark, but chose to do it when the tide was out, and he broke his neck. And we didn't know. We got the old Trilander all ready, and it was obvious that we couldn't get it in the try because he was strapped into a long thing with his head balanced and what have you.
mm,
So we got the old Twin Otter out, and that proved an absolute godsend because if you ever look at a picture of an otter, you've got a passenger door, then you've got what appears to be a bit of fuselage, and then you have another door, which is your normal baggage door, but the one in the middle also opens so that you have an enormous, great gaping hole. And of course, we were able then to just put him on the forklift truck and slide him in sideways. It. There's no occasion I don't think that it wouldn't work,
and the cargo capacity is better than
and it
the
was
Dornier.
certainly.
The
Sorry.
cargo capacity, the
Oh, much
cargo,
better,
yeah,
much better,
mm,
much better. I mean, when you think as part of the service that used to be on the decks, um, the inter-island freight is awful. The post is pretty grim now. Um, the any freight service, we used to have a phenomenal freight service between Alderney and
Yeah,
Southampton,
yeah,
which is dead. Nothing,
yeah,
next to nothing. Um, that side, I think, or the inability of that side to work anymore, I think has done no justice whatsoever to some of the businesses on the island. We had Mike Harding, he shut down his fishing shop. The fellow that did all the clone motor parts, another one that did medical pills and what have you. Because I mean, you remember at about 11:15-ish, we always used to have a dedicated freight aeroplane
yeah.
that
That's
used to
right.
come up pulled
Yeah.
from Guernsey and used to go full going back again. It's all
Now,
gone.
the deal with Skybus is that we have this so-called dry lease. Now, I did a bit of checking on Skybus, and according to plane
Yeah.
spotters, um, the average age of their fleet is 40 years. So the
Yep.
question is, and this has been asked by quite a few people, why would you want to swap two 10-year-old aeroplanes for, 40-year-old ones?
By 10-year-old, you mean
The Dorniers.
the Dorniers.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I may have to just refer to this. This was a little quote from an Aurigny spokesman in response to a letter in the Guernsey press. It might take me a minute, but it won't.
Don't
It's
worry.
going to take me too long. But basically, the original Dorniers had a load of figures which looked as though they were all right. The new Dornier 328 was a different ball game, and it didn't meet their expectations or maintenance or spares holding. Um, so they are not in too worried about getting rid of them and swapping them. And right from the beginning, I said with the Otter, it is built like the proverbial brick what's it,
Yeah.
um, and designed for any sort of atmosphere. And it is made and corrosion proof and anything to a level that is way, way, way beyond anything that you would normally get. When you think that you buy an Airbus from France and it's like that, its lifespan is only expected to be 15 years in mainline service, and that's costing you millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at 15, it will finish up probably in the middle of the Arizona desert and being broken up for spares. But with the Otter, it's built to last, and it does last. They are still going. The airframe is great, and of course, when you get an old airplane or older airplanes like that, you don't go around trying to find older engines to put in them. They're all upgraded with the later engines. So even if the airplane is 20, 30, 40 years old, um, all the equipment and all the engines are all today's engines.
Yeah. So,
It's
so
it,
effectively, the eco engines that you get on the brand new Twin Otter
yeah,
would be available. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, the 20, 30, 40 years, it would have a 2,400 between overhauls. Now it's got 3,600 because it's moved up with the times with the new engines.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood.
Nothing. Bearing in mind, if you go down, we don't want to go to South America, but if you go down there, you'll still find old DC-6s and DC-7s and Dakotas chuntering around there that were made in 1938.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you build them strong, they last.
It's good engineering. Now, what about this damp lease? What do we know about that? Anything?
The what?
The damp lease with Skybus.
Yeah, the damp lease is an expression that is a little odd because there's a bit in the middle that I'm not sure about. Nobody seems to want to quite talk about it. I mean, a wet lease is simple.
Yeah. They
A
supply
wet lease,
everything. Yeah.
you rent an aeroplane, complete with crew, operate according to their manuals, and you just give them a timetable and they do it.
Yeah.
And a dry lease, is sort of the other aeroplane. Yeah, they look after the aeroplane, but we supply the fuel and crews,
Yeah,
and it works by our system. With the damp lease, it seems to be a mixture of the two, us flying it, our manuals, with our crew, but the Skybus still having the maintenance side of it. And it says that somewhere in this note. I will
yeah.
send you this note anyway. You can have a look at it. Because they still look as though they're anticipating doing the heavy maintenance and most of the maintenance themselves. Now,
But
who paid for it? I don't know.
yeah, with all of this, Ralph, though, there's not much of a margin, I wouldn't have thought, for Aurigny.
I wouldn't have thought so. But
We're not going
if
to argue.
if it was a plus, if it was a plus, uh, uh, um, a £1 note, it would be better than the half
Yeah,
on the
true.
other side of the coin.
Yeah, Macabre economics, eh? We agreed that Southampton's still a very important route.
I am a firm believer in it,
Yeah,
because I, like a lot of people, I mean, I've only been here about 50 odd years, but nevertheless, you've only got to look around the town now to realise that unless you can get an injection of tourism back and people coming back, it's dying on its feet, Tony.
yeah, I agree. I
You
couldn't
know,
agree
I
more.
mean, when when I first came here, I used to look after some of the travel companies, Thomas Cook's and others,
Yeah,
and looked after their clients. And they used to ask, "Well, if I want to move here, what facilities have you got?" And you used to be able to say, "We got about 4 banks, we got
mm,
2 schools, we got all the number of churches. If you're fancy it, you've got about 12 or 13 pubs." Um, and, well, what about medical? Because most people are interested in, who
yeah,
are interested in moving, or usually what I might call senior age groups.
yeah,
Uh, and they're interested about what's happening if they're not well. And it used to go back, well, we've got 2 medical practices, but we have a wonderful air med service where we can get you to Guernsey in about 35, 40 minutes, which is probably less time than you're waiting for an ambulance in the UK. Great.
absolutely. Yeah,
Where's it all gone now?
yeah, yeah. So our hope, Ralph, is that the old Twin Otter will come to the rescue, revitalise the economy, and things will buck up a bit.
I think so, because
Yeah,
just as the last thing, I don't think that today people, everything that Guernsey are doing encourage people to go to Guernsey, stay at Guernsey,
yeah,
come to an airport. Yes, you can come here, but you haven't got any fuel, so you have to pay a fair landing fee in Guernsey to fuel up before you get here. It's all loaded that way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
tourists like to come on holiday. They do not want to spend 2/3 of their first day and 2 days of their last day sitting in Guernsey Airport waiting for their flight home to Gatwick
yeah,
or anywhere else.
yeah.
It
No, you're
feels
right.
stone dead.
You're right.
You know,
Ralph, we're
I
virtually out of
mean,
time. So
I bring musicians in, as you know,
yeah,
and I mean, the 3 people that are coming now, 1,100 quid to
yeah,
Southampton ordinary return. You
yeah,
put that in the terms of husband, wife, and 2.2 kids, forget it.
yeah. Too much, too much. Ralph, we're just about out of time. It's been a great pleasure to talk to you about this, and it's supposed to happen in November, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is November. I mean, it's a, it's quite a challenge to to get all the new crews,
Yeah,
because some of them are a little bit reticent to move
yeah,
down to an otter, but I don't think they've ever flown. I bet you a pound to a penny, if anybody's not sure, when they've spent a few months in the otter, they'll think it's fun. They'll know
good.
that aviation can be fun again. They really can.
Okay, that's good. You take care of yourself. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for the work, for the time and the ability to have a word.
And we better thank Mrs. O for setting it up. Take
Well,
care, mate.
she's probably on her third cup now.
Bye for now.